and Twitter, and I believe they take it.
So once everybody found your sandwich boxes and beverages, and it sounds like everybody's having a really good conversation. But we want to let Katherine Lewis get started, and I think it's going to create some conversation and questions at the end. So Katherine was happy, I think, to come today, and I'm real excited to have her. She is involved in the freelance committee that it's SPJ and the Press Club, and they have a monthly lunch here. I can't remember the email address, but she may have it if anybody hasn't heard about it and would be interested. Katherine's been in Washington journalism for about 16 years, 20 plus years as a journalist, and she's full-time now, freelancing for about 6 years. And so I'm excited to hear about what she's got to say, and I want to let her get started.
Okay, thank you, Amy, and thank you all for sticking around to hear me talk about freelancing. I'm sure your brains are full from this morning, but this is a great topic. I'm really thrilled to be here because as a freelancer, I often do get a call from a former colleague in a newsroom saying, what's it like? You know, what is it all about? And so I'm hoping to open the veil and shed a little light on at least my perspective on being a full-time freelance journalist, and yes, loving it, and no, not just saying I'm freelancing because I'm between jobs. So I'll start off by saying who am I and how did I get here. So my name's Katherine Reynolds Lewis, and I started off in journalism right after college in New York City covering Wall Street for the Bond Buyer newspaper. So I was covering state and local government. It was a really fun job, a really busy newsroom, and I thought, you know, this is the first step on my great journalism career, and maybe someday I'll be a national correspondent for the New York Times, or maybe someday I'll get to write for the Washington Post. And after a year at the Bond Buyer, they actually moved me down here to DC, which was really exciting. I covered Congress, I covered the Supreme Court. I was writing about derivatives, which is job security for anyone who is in business journalism. To say you can write about derivatives or accounting is a pretty good guarantee of employment. So I moved from the Bond Buyer to Bloomberg News and was in the newsroom there covering everything from agriculture to, because commodities and agriculture were also part of the derivatives beat, and then banking policy, media policy, a lot of other fun topics. When I finally landed that dream job as a national correspondent for Newhouse News Service, writing feature stories and news analysis on money, work, and family, so really interesting topics. We're a somewhat smaller DC bureau, so we didn't try to chase the big story of the day, but instead looked for different angles or things that weren't being written about, which really was fun for me, and I loved working with the staff there. So then in the spring of 2008, my bureau chief sort of started walking around the newsroom saying, you know, everyone should always have a plan B. And I thought, okay, maybe that means that I should have a plan B. So I started poking around to see what I might be able to pick up on the side and as a freelancer. And I found a gig writing for About.com, which is the website with the big red dot, if you've ever seen it, on working moms. And at the time I had a 2-year-old daughter, so it was a fun side gig that I could really write without much reporting in the evenings and weekends. And so then, in August, when Newhouse announced they were closing the bureau, I had at least something. And that was a great feeling. And actually, they gave us a good amount of notice. They gave us 3 months' notice before they closed the bureau. So I was able to really compare freelancing with, okay, going back in with a full-time job somewhere. And I actually did have a job offer. But remember, this was November 2008. It was the worst part of the recession. And I just had this thought. So I take this new job, then I'm the last person hired. I'm the lowest on the totem pole. The next time there's a round of layoffs, I'm the first to go. in addition, they wanted me to quit the other freelancing that I had picked up. So I decided to take my severance package and leap in and see how freelancing was. And the first year was very hard, I'm not going to lie. It was, I didn't make a lot of money, it was very stressful. The second year I made more money and it was a little less stressful. And here I am in year 6 and I have steady writing clients. I still write for About.com, I write for Federal Computer Week, Fortune, I write for USA Today's magazine group, and Working Mother. And in the last 6 years, I've also written, had bylines in Bankrate, Bloomberg Business Week, Cover Story a couple summers ago, Consumer Digest, Money, MSN, the New York Times, Parade, Slate, and the Washington Post. So I sometimes say, I'm writing for all the places I ever wanted to work simultaneously. I also do a little editing and ghostwriting for nonprofits and small businesses where I can find a client that doesn't conflict with my journalism work. So that's who I am, and I'm just curious, who are you? I just got here, I had to come from my kids' swim meet, so I know that there's been a lot of discussion and learning this morning, but if you could just give a show of hands, you know, who here is currently full-time employed on staff somewhere? Okay, so maybe like 40% of the room. Who is employed part-time in a, so not so many, and who is looking for work? Raise them high. You'll never find a job if they don't know you're looking. Okay, good, that's useful. And then also curious, who has ever freelanced in the past? Okay, good, so you know where I'm coming from. And who might be interested in freelancing now or in the future. Okay, great, good. So the good news is, as a journalist, you already have all the skills you need to be a successful freelancer. You can make a cold call. You don't mind if they hang up on you. You can take rejection, you'll probably call back. And you actually have a lot of other skills. When I first started doing some editing on this, in addition to my journalism work, I was stunned by how fast and efficient and accurate I was compared with the pool of non-journalism editors and writers out there. So, you know, the things that we take for granted, that we say, oh, but everyone in my newsroom can do that. Or everyone I went to journalism school knows how to write, you know, 600 words, report and write 600 words in a day. Well, not everyone can do that. So you already have all the skills you need. And in addition, if you actually meet a deadline, that's something that in the general world is considered a small miracle.